going on, everybody? Happy 100th episode of the Vial Files.
100.
Wow. Look at us. Look
at us. Who would have thought? Not me.
Yeah, it's our 100th episode, so that's pretty cool. It's been a wild ride. We're doing all these episodes. Obviously, we have to thank you, the listener.
Oh yeah.
For tuning in. We wouldn't be here without you. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your reviews. Thank you for sharing our show on your social media and promoting our show and telling your friends and spreading the word. That has allowed us to grow, and it's allowed us to put out more episodes. It's allowed us to get some of the guests that we've had. So we do thank you for that. And it's been a ton of fun, and we hope to only continue to grow and put out a few hundred more. So yeah, kind of wild.
We had someone email us from China saying they're in quarantine listening, and they wanted to thank us.
You know what? You are welcome. You are welcome.
And people have been so sweet who called in and shared their stories and opened up and been vulnerable.
Yeah, especially with our Ask Nicks. I know it's people are really enjoying relating to our callers, and we have our callers to thank for sharing their stories. And I hope we're doing, other than entertaining everyone and ourselves, I hope that we're kind of doing good things and helping people kind of navigate the difficult world of dating, and maybe changing some people's behaviors and our own behaviors of not doing things that kind of put us in tough situations. But other than that, it's been a ton of fun. So again, we just want to thank you, the listener.
We even had someone's mom email in, be like, "Thanks for helping my daughter."
Yeah. I'm such a great guy.
Oh God.
I'm just kidding. Other than that, I mean, I guess we just wanted to take this intro to thank you, and
we got some champagne.
Wow, we have some champagne, and
it's engraved. Happy 100th.
Got some balloons here. I feel like a real influencer. When you get to I have 100K followers.
Oh,
get those balloons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's us right now. That's pretty cool.
It is.
Most podcasts don't make it
You
past
really
8.
stuck with it, Nick.
Yeah, I remember being excited when we got to episode 10.
Yeah, I do too.
That was pretty cool. Now we are at 100. Anyways, we have a great episode for you all today. I think a theme here that you'll hear about, kind of knowing the difference of compromising our morals and values, and as well as opening our mind to new ways of thinking. And that can be a challenge for us as we navigate relationships. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Don't forget to send in your questions at asknick@castmedia.com. And just because it's our 100th episode, I know you've heard me talk a lot about natural habits. We're going to do a big sale today. We're going to do 40% off.
What?
Code 100.
Nice.
It's just going to be 100. That's it. That's the code.
Nice.
40% off Natural Habits. So if you've ever wanted to try us and you haven't gotten around to it yet, and you're looking for a healthy, organic way to scenting your indoor or indoor air, helping you relax, helping you fight headaches, give us a try. NHOils.com, code 100. Anything else? Should we just get to it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get to it. Thanks for listening, everybody. Liquid IV. It's a fascinating little item, Liquid IV.
Yeah, just some powder. You put it in your water.
So easy to use.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people will say, hey, if you have a little too much to drink, indulge. It's a great way to make yourself feel better. True. But also, every day, as we know, we're not hydrating enough. And it's like drinking multiple bottles of water at once. And it's also full of vitamins and nutrients.
Great for traveling, too, especially now. You know what I mean?
Great for traveling. If you go on a plane. Stay hydrated. It's got some great flavors. My favorite flavor is lemon lime.
And they have a new product called the Liquid IV Energy Multiplier. It gives you sustained energy boost with no crash.
I hate that crash. Anyways, try it out. It's super easy to use. It's going a long way. You've heard about people doing IVs. This is much easier than that because you can just drink it.
How it works, they use a cellular transport technology, which it's rapid absorption into the bloodstream, and it powers your mornings and fuels you all day long. It's non-GMO, vegan, and free of gluten, dairy, and soy.
Get 25% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code VIALL at checkout. That's 25% off anything you order on Liquid IV's website. Just go to liquidiv.com and enter promo code VIALL to save 25% and get better hydration and energy. That's liquidiv.com, promo code VIALL. Don't wait. Start fueling your adventures today. ShipStation. Well, you've heard us talk about ShipStation. I use it every day for my company, Natural Habits.
It's true.
If you have a small business, and that small business could just maybe you're knitting quilts out of your house, and your neighbors from across the country need those quilts. ShipStation, great tool. You get all the information on your shipments. It's certainly helpful for customer service. You can help control your shipping costs, and shipping costs, well, let me tell you,
what is it?
A big part of the business.
What do you use it for with Natural Habits?
I use it to track literally all my shipments.
Wow.
It's where we get our postage through, and it links with that tracking information on the shipments, because most of the time we'll use USPS, the postal service, but sometimes depending on customers' needs, we'll use FedEx or UPS,
and it covers all.
And it works with all of those.
That's awesome.
And then it's so if we have a customer reaching out saying, hey, just want to know when our order's coming, or it hasn't gotten here, is that normal?
Yeah.
I just go into ShipStation and have the information I want. And then I can also track my shipping costs, which is great for managing my expenses. It's really can't say enough about using ShipStation.
Awesome.
And they have an amazing app. It's super easy to use. And I love it. I can't say how much I love it enough. And right now, Viofile listeners who listen can try or watch ShipStation free for 60 days when you use offer code VIAL. That's absolutely no risk. You don't even need a credit card. You just get it for free. You can start your trial without, like I said, even entering your credit card information. That is a win, people. Just go to ShipStation.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in VIALL. That's ShipStation.com. Enter code VIALL. ShipStation. Make ship happen. Hard to say, easy to use.
Question time with Nick. Let's ask Nick your sexy questions.
All right, how's it going?
Hi, I'm Alana. I'm 23.
Hi, Alana, 23. How can we help you?
So I emailed Rochelle. Basically, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this without rambling, but I'm at a point where I feel like I've become really jaded and kind of guarded towards finding love. And I've never had a boyfriend or I've never had any serious relationship at all, for that matter. And growing up, my first real makeout, honestly, or real kiss, if you don't count Truth or Dare, was when I was 20. So I feel relatively new to the whole world, but I've had such a terrible introduction into dating, and I've just been so deeply wronged. I don't want to get into being complaining or anything, but I'm at a point where I do feel I've come the way I've my coping mechanism, I guess, for putting up with realizing all that I put up with in the past is to now just be disengaged from anyone that ever approaches me or anything. And I don't want to be in this mindset, but I feel I've come to a toxic mindset. And if, to use your words, Nick, and I've listened to the podcast for a while, that I need to shift my perspective, but I don't know how exactly to do that because I'm just kind of afraid.
Can you give us a little insight to talk about your introduction into dating and kissing and why you feel it's been a challenge?
Okay. So I was trying to think about this actually, what exactly I should mention, because I feel I don't know what would be the worst, but for some examples of some things that I've had to deal with, this one guy who he basically, this was last semester at my last university, he would make me, he kind of misled me basically. He kept telling me, oh, I like you, and asking me to be his girlfriend. And I didn't know at the time that he had his own separate girlfriend, so that I realized later. But he basically how do I explain the worst part? So we were having sex, and he would literally a second after he pulled out, he'd be like, "Oh, do you want to have a threesome?" And I'm not trying to shame people for asking for threesomes. Like, I think that's totally valid, and like people should explore their own sexuality. But like, I had repeatedly told him that I wasn't interested in doing that, so I felt like he didn't respect that. He also, like, we would make plans to meet up, and he would just like respond, like, and like we would have, say we had planned for like a Saturday at 8 p.m. He would respond on the Sunday at 10 p.m. "Oh, sorry, just seeing this now." Actually, not even always apologizing, but that is one. And, oh, another guy though. So this is like one guy. I'm trying to give you like a concise overview, so sorry if I'm rambling, but
No, you're doing fine. But I do want to be clear. So it's when you say you haven't had a boyfriend, but you've been dating.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just haven't been able to find someone that you feel comfortable or trust in, that to commit to them and have them commit to you.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had someone ask me to be their girlfriend before, and I was telling Rochelle, like, aside from like someone like a creepy DM on Instagram, no one's ever asked me, and I don't know, like, if it's something like with the law of attraction, like I'm not putting out that I'm like, I feel like I would be a good girlfriend. Like, I'm not perfect, but I don't know. No one's ever asked me.
Everyone at home, she's a total smoke show. She's a nursing student. She said she's working really hard.
Yeah, you're a total babe. You seem like a nice person. Who are some of the guys that you're going out with?
I don't even know. Like, but another guy, just to give you just a brief other comment, he had a roommate, and we had sex, and right after we had sex, he's like, he basically was treating me like a prostitute. He's like, "Do you want to have sex with my roommate?"
What?
And this happened on more than one occasion. Like, I was like, my face was looking jacked up, my lipstick all over the place, and he wanted me to like go to his roommate. And I, like, again, if someone is interested in doing that kind of stuff, I don't even know the sexual term, then like fine, like, you know, people should do what they want. But I like repeatedly told him I didn't want to do that. But then I kind of felt trapped because I was at a place where this was after that last guy. So I was just kind of like desperate just to have some kind of like, I don't know, I wanted to have sex with someone that was not that last guy. So I put up with the new guy, and I'm just afraid of getting into anything. I think I said to Rochelle that I've kind of equated like interacting with guys in my mind. I equate that to like teaching them how to treat me like as a human. And it's kind of upsetting, but I don't know how to get past this.
Yeah. I mean, that's not your job to do that. I mean, thanks for sharing your story. I mean, that must be not easy. When you're dating these guys, like, are you not, because I mean, we're big advocates on the show. We talk about like, if you want to have sex on the first night, that's great. If you want to wait, that's great. Yeah. But I'm curious, in your situation, how are you pretty quick to have sex, or I mean, in every situation is different, and I'm in no way saying you should wait, but like, you're finding yourself in these situations with these guys for whatever reason are objectifying you, you know?
Yeah.
I don't, and there's probably a lot of potential reasons why this is going on. I mean, society in general, guys are watching more, they have more and more access to porn. What you're describing seems like a lot of guys who are trying to live their sexual pornography fantasies with you. And I don't know why they think that you might be down or not, but that seems to be what's going on. But
that's a good way of looking at it.
Pardon me?
Oh, sorry. I said that's a good way of looking at it. I didn't see it in that way.
And so I would just, because you're feeling the way you're doing, I'm wondering if maybe just waiting to get intimate with some of these guys before you know what they want might be a way to do it. Again, if you want to have sex with them, by all means, you should have sex with them. But, sometimes if you are looking for a relationship and you are trying to get to know someone, sex can confuse that dynamic. So it's not about, shaming someone because they want to have sex, but sometimes we need to hold off on sex because it might cloud our ability to get to know someone. And so, maybe try that. Again, if your goal is to not get yourself in a situation where you don't know how a guy is going to respond or what his desires are sexually and things like that. And as far as like, you mentioned companionship in terms of you didn't want to deal with this other guy, and so you were willing to put up with that guy. I mean, that's a red flag for yourself to think about. You know, you are only 23, and I appreciate your frustration of you're a beautiful woman. It's probably very easy for you to meet guys and date guys, and it's been a very challenge for you to find what you're looking for.
And she likes having sex too.
Yeah, you like having sex,
Yeah.
and so you're being objectified by men, and it might be the way you look, whether that's fair or not. I mean, and again, for those of you who are listening, she's just you're very beautiful, right? And I don't know why some guys, I don't know if some guys see you and think you might be, and maybe because you're so willing to have sex
Nice.
early on
And
and you're nice,
Yeah.
because they're confusing your willingness to be kind of sex positive with into like weird shit. I don't understand.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that I do it like having sex super early on. Like, I don't think that's necessarily, I can see how like maybe in the future when I maybe get into dating world again, I will wait even longer, but I don't think I just like immediately off the bat have sex with guys. But I do think maybe, like you said, maybe my being nice, like I'm really terrified of like being impolite or like upsetting people.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, and like when I emailed with Rochelle and I said like I miss having sex, I don't mean like I haven't been like not that would be a bad thing if I were just going out and having a lot of sex anyways, but like I would when I had like I mean I'm not right now. I don't even know why I'm still on birth control, but like last year when I was
Same girl.
active, I would be having sex with the one person, and I was like so frustrated, and it was almost like too much work because I was like, oh, well, I don't want to go out and find someone new because it will just happen again. But I think my question is, I agree with you in terms of waiting to have sex, but I'm at the point where like I've had some guys approach me. I mean, like, and I always find it flattering. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm being a bitch when someone like comes up to me. And I'm always like, I never mean to anyone, but like for instance, last Saturday, a guy approached me at the mall and was like, "Oh, you're so beautiful," and I was like, "Thank you," but then I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I have to go meet my mom," and I didn't. But I was just afraid, like I don't know what will come of it, and I've just become kind of jaded to think like any guy that will come up to me is just trying to play me, and I don't know how to like change out of that mindset. Is what I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's tough. I mean, I think there's a couple of things. Dating's hard. You're not the only one going through this. So I only say that because sometimes we can feel when we have our own struggles in our dating lives and we meet people, we kind of feel like it's worse for us. And, you know, it's easier to feel like our situation is harder. I mean, it's not. I'm assuming there's a lot of people listening to this relating to you in this situation. And then, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, the sex part, maybe waiting a little longer is a smaller, nuanced kind of thing. I think the biggest thing for you is you got to get more comfortable with, you know, saying how you feel to men. And obviously we've talked about this in situations where, you know, you want to make sure you feel safe and you want to feel comfortable. You shouldn't really be, especially when it comes to sex, and especially when it comes to your body, you should never feel worried about their feelings, honestly. You shouldn't be worried about hurting their feelings. You shouldn't be worrying about it embarrassing them. You shouldn't be worried. You should be very, you know, and even if a guy's like, listening to you, when a guy's like, hey, do you want, like you said, he pulled out and immediately asked you to have a threesome.
After she told him she didn't
Yeah.
want to.
Was your response like, what the fuck would you ask me that for? Or I feel like you'd be like, well, you know, I don't would rather not. I mean, you seem like a very sweet person. Yeah.
Slap him. Get out
Yeah.
there.
I mean, that's a fucked up thing to do. It's like, you know, short of you having this sort of you being two people who are very on the same page sexually, right? And you have a very open relationship and talking about it. That's just a rude thing to ask. It's a very objectifying thing to ask. I can only imagine how you might have felt in that moment and how him saying that made you feel trying to connect with him on a physical level. Like, it's a dick move, right? And short of you, in which you didn't, it seems like, giving you some sort of like clearance to ask a question like that, it was a very rude thing for him to say to you. And so you need to get more comfortable with realizing that and pushing back and getting a little more confidence in that. And I think if you do that, I think you will notice a difference. and the situations you find yourself in. And you just have to get better at not feeling bad about this. And, because people in general, and specifically, you've heard the cliche, you give someone an inch, they take a foot. And if someone senses your sweetness and someone senses that you lack the ability to, really tell them how fucked up that is, they're going to ask you crazy questions. That kind of goes for everyone. It's just kind of human nature that we do this. And I'm not even just talking about in this situation with sex or the woman, humans were kind of messed up that way. And so if you get better at that, and if you really focus on, this is what I want, and this is what I want for myself, and this is the type of man that this is how I want to be treated. This is what I think is okay to be, how I should be talked to. This is what's not okay. And if someone doesn't act that way towards me, I'm going to be, in a respectful way, I'm going to be very curt and very direct on how I feel about that. I think you will notice a difference. You'll just kind of project this energy out there, and it won't always be the case. Like dealing with creepy men will, unfortunately, I'm sorry that's something that, probably women will always to a certain degree have to deal with. But I think you learning how to push back for yourself and stop worrying about being so sweet is probably something you can try to work on. Because there are good guys out there, there are guys who wouldn't say that to you, and it's certainly not your fault, and nothing you're doing is necessarily, is the reason why this is happening. I just think you could probably push back a little bit better, and I think you will subconsciously find yourself in different situations.
I know
Thank you.
Go just get to her nursing job, but
you have to get to your job. Well, I mean, thanks for calling. It's
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll try to be more assertive in the future.
Yeah, it's very relatable. I'm sure
it'll
a lot of
come with
people-
age
yeah.
too.
And
You'll get to a point and you're just like,
also, yes, you are 23. Don't get discouraged.
Yeah.
It takes time. This is the time of your life that you are figuring yourself out, and you're figuring out the type of person and type of guy you want. So don't get too discouraged. You have time to figure it out.
Okay. Sometimes I'm worried that I'll be cast off as a weirdo that I'm 23 and I've never had a boyfriend.
Yeah.
But
No.
No.
I mean, trust me when I say this. There's plenty of guys lined up who will be happy to be your boyfriend. And
Your
they
first boyfriend.
and you're not a what does that matter? Honestly, people your age shouldn't have boyfriends or girlfriends. They should do what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're out there. You're dating. You're having
Focusing
some
on your
sex.
work.
You're working. Who cares? I mean, for all the people who had boyfriends or girlfriends in their early 20s that they didn't marry, what does that mean? That doesn't make you more normal or less normal. That just means, quite honestly, they invested a lot of time and energy and a lot of gifts with someone they're never going to talk to 2 years later. You're totally fine.
You're fine.
Okay. Thank you again for your advice. And thank you again for calling me. This was so surreal.
Thanks
My
for
pleasure.
listening.
Good luck. Have fun at work.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah. It's tough.
Very relatable.
I think it's probably relatable for
Everyone, yeah. Especially we're just raised to be so sweet and nice.
Guys are
and-
pigs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's wild. Every time we do these calls, I always feel like I have to defend a group of men. We're they're not all like that.
Yeah.
It's tough. I always feel bad when we get callers like that, where it's am I doing something wrong? And it's just well, no. And again, it's it's so nuanced to say try waiting and having sex as if
I
there's
know.
no shame involved.
Yeah.
But again, sex does complicate things, and sometimes complicates things for guys, and sometimes we just can get a little bit more clarity. But she was even saying it's not like she's rushing into it.
Yeah.
But her biggest thing is for her to admit that when a guy pulls out and immediately asks for a threesome, and her response is well, I just would rather not, not my thing. That's fucked
have
up.
sex with my roommate?
Yeah.
You-
Men are taking advantage of her sweetness.
Yes, they are.
And they're playing the game of, well, I guess the worst you can say is no, but she might say yes.
Yeah.
And what is really dirty is she's very sweet and very accommodating, probably in life.
Oh, yeah.
And has, and
I'm sure she's a fabulous nurse.
yeah. And guys are asking her, not thinking that she's even going to be into it, that she just might say yes, which is kind of dirty when you think
sad,
about it.
yeah.
But we just got to start pushing back on some of these guys.
Yeah.
In ways that,
Boundaries.
yeah, I don't know. Yuck. Rochelle, I love it when you talk about bras.
Don't say that. Just don't say
I think it's
that.
great.
That's not the right way to
specifically
phrase
your
that.
bras.
No, that's not. No. Or no.
Third Love, people. Women, I feel for you. Having to wear bras. They're expensive. They can be uncomfortable.
Yeah,
This is
but
what I've
like
heard.
when you have companies like Third Love, it's honestly kind of fun to wear
There
a
you
bra
go.
because they're pretty, they make you feel good, they're comfortable, they have
Look at that
half
bra.
sizes so that it really fits you. And honestly, it's kind of like you feel kind of sexy wearing it. So
Yeah.
there you go.
They're making bra shopping and wearing fun again.
Exactly, because you take a quiz and you kind of like let them know what the shape of your boobies are. And then by the end, they give you recommendations on the perfect bra.
See, when I say some things that make you uncomfortable, I get it. But when you say boobies,
That
I
makes you
feel very
uncomfortable?
weird.
Well, I was just getting you back. So good. But also the cool thing is you have 60 days to try on your bra. If you don't like it, you can send it back. And what's really cool is they donate all of their gently used returned bras to women in need.
Gently used. I like that. Well, Third Love knows there's a perfect bra for everyone. So right now they are offering my listeners 15% off your first order. How about that? Go to thirdlove.com/VIALL now to find your perfect fitting bra and get 15% off your first purchase. That's thirdlove.com/VIALL for 15% off today.
I love my bra.
Hello Fresh. I'll tell you what, not only do I use HelloFresh, that some of, you know who uses HelloFresh?
The
Venice
girlfriend?
Lurker.
Venice Lurker.
I'm pretty sure Venice Lurker also uses HelloFresh. Anyways, if you haven't heard of HelloFresh, well, I honestly don't know how it's possible. But if you are a busy person who's also trying to get tasty, delicious meals that are easy to prepare and healthy for you,
fun to prepare,
and fun to
honestly.
prepare, HelloFresh is the company you need. They have all these delicious dinners, and again, easy to make. It's very self-explanatory. You walk you through all the steps. It doesn't take that much time. I mean, it's like I think most of the meals that I've made from them are like 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
But like, it's so nice because it keeps you from, like, for me, I don't get like fast food.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, I'm just going to make this meal when I come home and I feel really good. And I actually learn a lot about cooking too while I'm making it.
yeah.
I love the Juicy Lucy burgers, my favorite. Love that.
Chicken quesadillas for me, baby. Well, go to HelloFresh.com/VIALL10 and use code VIALL10 for 10 free meals, including free shipping. Ooh, what a neat offer. That's HelloFresh.com/VIALL10. And like I said, use code VIALL10 for 10 free meals. And that's free shipping, people. That is an offer you can't beat. How's it going?
Good. Wow, it's a lot sunnier there than it is here.
Yeah. Well, I'll lay it for you. What's your name?
My name is Kia, and I'm 27 years old.
Did you say Kia or Tia?
Kia.
Kia. Ooh.
Yeah, like the car.
Yeah, okay. Great. Nice reference. How many times do you say that a day?
Basically every time, because it's either I get Kaya, or else they just don't know how to say it at all. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for calling Kia 26. How can we help?
Yeah, basically I just met a guy off of an online dating app about 2 years ago, and everything was, it started off normal. And then he told me that he has a job where he has to kind of be away from home for 3 to 4 months at a time. And so before he had left to his job, we went on only 2 days, and we didn't talk about being exclusive or anything. And then after he was gone for 2 months, we were still talking every day. He was really good at communicating. And I had mentioned that I had gone on like another date with a different person. And that's when he started getting really upset about the fact that I was still dating. And I had mentioned to him that because we never made it clear that we were exclusive with him, and it just seemed kind of premature to assume that I would be exclusive with him after just 2 dates, and knowing that we wouldn't see each other for so long. And so that didn't sit well with him. But then after a few more months of talking and him being away, I did decide to be exclusive with him, even though we hadn't seen each other over those 4 months. And when he came back, we spent like the whole weekend together. It was really good. I went over to his place, and then after that, it was kind of almost like he completely just pulled back. And when I talked to him about it, he had mentioned that his parents were, he just found out they were going through a divorce, and it's like completely altered his perspective on relationships and marriage. And before that, he was already telling me like, oh, you're everything that I want to marry. You have everything I'd want, and I just need you to kind of grow up and learn how to be exclusive with me. So that's when I made my decision a few months after that.
Wait, he said, I need you to learn how to grow up and be exclusive with me?
Yeah, because he didn't like the fact that I was still dating around, even though we had never
How old is
had
he?
that talk. At that time, he just turned 30.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
How long ago was this?
2 years ago. So I think it's like 32,
Okay.
33. Yeah. And then when he told me about his parents, I was very understanding. And so I kind of backed away and just let him kind of deal with that on his own. And then, it was weird because every few months or so, we would kind of just text each other, and I would text him just to see how he was doing with everything. And then one day this is already months afterwards, he messaged me and asked me if I would be open to, okay, this sounds ridiculous, I know, but if I would be open to being in an exclusive, no strings attached relationship thing. Well, it's not relationship, but no strings attached situation. And
What's that
I've never
mean?
done that before. So basically, like, since he's saying we have sex, and I can't have sex whenever he's gone for those 4 months throughout the year. Like, I just can't be sexual with anybody else, but we're not in a relationship, and we have no strings to each other.
I don't know what that means.
And then,
Were you as confused as I am right now when he said that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Were you as confused then as I am right now when he said that?
Oh, yeah, I was. I guess for me, I was just kind of like, I mean, to him, he's getting the best of both worlds. So why not throw it out there if he's that kind of person? But
Well, I
me,
guess
I
I'm
just
curious,
understand
what you described sounds like a monogamous relationship. Am I missing something? When you say no, what is no strings attached? Are you?
So this is the kicker. Just tell him what's
he
the
gets
kicker.
to sleep with someone else?
No, tell him.
For some reason, something just didn't sit well with me. And so I decided to, because I had already looked him up on Facebook in the beginning, and he told me that he doesn't have social media because he's just not that kind of guy, which I should have already knew was a red flag. But I still looked him up just because I don't know, I just have that tendency to double check things. But when I looked at his name in every way possible, because his name could be like abbreviated and stuff, nothing came up. But then this time, after like a year and a half, for some reason, I decided to just look up his last name because it's kind of a unique last name. And at this time, he had already showed me like his family members and stuff. So I noticed someone that he had showed me. And when I clicked on that person's page, that's when I saw another girl on that family member's friends list, right? Like the top 8 at that time, because he used to have the top 8. And I saw that it was a girl who I've never seen with him. And I clicked on it, and I saw everything where I had my text messages out just comparing the dates of when him and I were texting and seeing each other. And that's when I found out that they have been in a relationship for over 5 years.
Yeah, so you're the other girl. You found
yes.
out. Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's basically how I found out everything. And I decided to tell her after I talked to some of my close girlfriends. And it was hard for me because I didn't know if that was I didn't know. Let me think about this. I didn't know how to handle what would happen next if I told her. And so my friends asked me, like, what's my intentions, like what I want out of telling her. And the truth was, I just wanted to let her know what happened, and whatever she decided to do with that was on her. And so, yeah, I told her, and at first it went well, but it didn't go very well after some time. And then now I'm just kind of at the point, because it got kind of nasty, where he did like make death threats, and
You?
my brother, yes, and my brother's in law enforcement, so I did ask him, like, I didn't want to tell my family about it because it's not something that I'm very proud of that happened in my life, but I opened up to them just because I do live with my family. I didn't want anybody else to be caught in between of it in all of this. So my brother, who was in law enforcement, just told me, like, he said that I probably should take it seriously, even if it's just like a verbal threat.
Totally.
Yeah. And so
So where are we now, I guess?
Well, we're not talking at all, but for me, it's just, I've noticed that it's taken a lot of psychological hit on me, because I feel like now it's hard for me to trust myself and like trust the process of trusting my gut instincts, because I didn't see any of these red flags. And my question is just, how do you move on from this and learn to trust?
Here's where I'll disagree with you. This is a very interesting call, and I appreciate you calling and sharing your story. You said a couple things like I don't know what word, I forgot what word you used, but like embarrassed or humiliated about the situation.
Not proud of it.
Not proud of. There you go. This is not your fault, right? Like, big picture wise, you met who knows, maybe a narcissist. I don't know, someone who's at a minimum just a liar and very self-absorbed with himself, and not a great person. And those types of people are good at lying, and they're good at manipulating people, and they're good at taking advantage of a lot of people. And we've all get lied to. We all get fooled, maybe not necessarily with our love lives, but we've all been there. So you didn't do anything wrong. Now, so now we're at this point in your life where you're processing this, right? And like a lot of people in different situations, when we get wronged, when we're lied to, when we feel misled and we feel fooled, it makes us feel insecure, as you just described, about our ability to sense this. How can we avoid this happening to us in the future? Where I would disagree with you is that this didn't come out of nowhere, right? And I'm not in any way associating blame to you, but he did show you some red flags. For example, what I remember for myself, right? I was cheated on once, right? Years ago, right? And in the moment, it was like, when, again, as I'm sure you were, like when you're in a relationship, you pride yourself on trusting that person. And I'm a big believer that trust is a choice. Sometimes you just have to say, all right, I'm going to trust you. And I'm going to make myself vulnerable to being hurt, because sometimes you just have to blindly trust someone, right? In a relationship. And you pride yourself of having your person's back, so to speak. And then when we were in a relationship, there were things going on, all of which she was pretty good at justifying, but in my gut felt wrong, right? And then after we broke up, and after I started, having people tell me, like, dude, she was cheating on you, I kind of like went back and thought to myself, you know what, that wasn't okay, right? That wasn't okay. That felt wrong then, and I tried to justify it in my head to protect the relationship or protect her, or I didn't even want to admit to myself this could possibly be going on. And so I kind of explained it away, right? And after we broke up, those were kind of big moments for me to say, you know what, I got to remember, if it feels wrong, there's a difference between being paranoid, right? And trusting your gut, right? Things are happening. Paranoid is creating situations in your head based off of really nothing, of scenarios your partner might find themselves in that they're not even in, because you're paranoid something could happen. Trusting your gut is they do or say something that feels wrong, right? And you following up and having conviction. So like when he, right off the bat, when he said to you, kind of very condescendingly about making you feel guilty about dating someone else for going on a date, you've only been on a date with two guys. Like that's not normal, right? I mean, you didn't do anything wrong, and you should know that you did nothing wrong. And so, trusting your gut not to let some guy shame you into doing something that, is okay. Standing your ground for like, listen, if you like me, I like you, but I'm allowed to date someone. We haven't defined the relationship, and I'm open to talking about it with you, right? But I'm not going to be made to feel guilty by doing something wrong, right? And then fast forward where he kind of, again, condescendingly, told you to grow up, and he wanted to find the relationship. I mean, he was kind of laying the groundwork, right? He was saying things that I bet if you look back, felt wrong, in the moment. It felt like you were like, that's not normal. Am I doing something wrong? I don't think I'm doing something wrong, but he's very convincing about making me feel like I did something wrong. You know, we're getting more familiar with the gaslight term, you know, of dating someone who's really good at like pointing the finger at you and making you feel like you're doing something wrong. And we just got to trust our gut in those situations, right? So going forward for you, you don't need to feel ashamed, and you don't need to feel like, you know, and I've said this too, like when I was cheated on, I didn't want to admit to anyone I was cheated on, you know, and people ask me what happened. And it's like, I don't know, just broke up. I didn't want to tell people I was cheated on. In fact, I found it very empowering to finally get to a place where I could do that, right? Where I could open up. Because the truth is, like, no, people aren't judging you, you know? No one's looking at you differently. You were duped by a professional duper, right? And now going forward, you just have to get better at paying attention to the red flags that were there before, and then you know they were there. You saw them. You just chose to ignore them. And we've all been there, right? So now going forward, the next relationship you're in, I encourage you to still choose to trust that person if you love them and you think that you can trust them. But if something comes up where it feels wrong, you just say, hey, listen, I need to talk to you. This is how I feel. And then have them explain it to you. And if something about their explanation feels wrong, you say, okay, well, that doesn't really quite make sense. And you will know the difference between, again, being paranoid and just trusting your gut. You'll know. And I think it's just really about that, right? And you got to really not judge yourself here. It's really important not to do that. But really just think about all, you know, maybe go back, not to dwell on the past, but go back, and on those moments, it just felt like something he said didn't seem right. It didn't seem normal. You know, don't be afraid to ask your friends about, like, is this fucked up? Am I the crazy person here? Or is that normal? Because people who are like him are really good at gaslighting and making you feel guilty for things that you have no right to feel guilty about. And in those situations, that's not okay. And like learning to stand up for yourself in those situations is a great way to help you avoid this in the future, so that you can allow yourself to trust. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no. Yeah, it does.
So yeah, that's what I would do. But really don't judge. I mean, really try not to judge yourself. You're not the only, like, this is a unique situation, but when people get cheated on or people are wronged, you really have to let that not, you know, you don't want to become a cynic, and you don't want to become that person who starts hating and not trusting all, you know, men, and for the guys who are wronged by women and hating and not trusting women. You know, just learn to go back and realize, were there moments where I compromised my own values, right? And not to like, you know, you don't beat yourself up over it, but that's when you're like, you know what, next time I'm not going to do that, right? Next time I'm going to stand my ground, and I'm just going to calmly ask questions to say, like, well, that doesn't feel right to me. And when it doesn't feel right, I'm not going to compromise and let you convince me that I'm doing something wrong, because in my heart, I know this is okay.
Yeah. I think, like, even in my email, I had mentioned that because I have also been cheated on in the past, and for some reason, this just affected me more than being physically and emotionally cheated on, because I think this more is about me not trusting myself anymore. Whereas of being cheated on is more of me not trusting someone else, and I don't think that's necessarily my issue. It's just more of like what you said, where it's like, and I just need to pay more attention to those red flags. And yeah, I guess it's just more about how do I learn to trust that what I believe in isn't wrong again, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you know, men and women all do it. We talk about like, don't be a cool chick kind of thing on here. But I see it, I think we see it more with women, you know, and this idea that, you're afraid the guy is going to be upset, you know?
Or we get called crazy so much that you start thinking,
you're crazy. You're not supposed to feel that way.
You're
Again,
overreacting.
It's really comes down to taking some time and thinking about qualities, morals, values, and things that you want in a partner, right? And those are the expectations you hold, right? And those are your non-negotiables, right? And I'm not talking about like whether he has a tattoo or went to college or smokes,
Yeah.
although, but I'm just
Yeah.
talking about how he treats you and how he communicates and how you feel when you're around them. And when those moments don't happen, you have to have the strength and the courage to address that.
Yeah.
And you have to, like, think about, I'm sure of it, like talking to you, there's probably so many times that you've dated men where they convinced you to feel bad about something that you were confused about why you should feel bad about.
Yeah.
And those are those moments where you have to go, wait, this is not okay. I know this is not right. And so, we've all been crazy before, and we all know when we're not being crazy. So like, if a guy calls you crazy and you're like, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm fucking with him. Maybe I'm being fine. But there's probably a lot of other moments where you're not being crazy. You're being totally reasonable. And something he's, in my situation, like when I was cheated on, she was like showing up, coming home at like 5 a.m, and it was like, well, I guess it doesn't mean you're cheating on me, but like, that just seems fucked up. And like, you're with a group of people and you're conveniently like unavailable. Like there's like gaps, and it's just like, it just felt wrong. And I just kind of conveniently explained it away all the time, sometimes because my ego didn't want to admit that maybe she was doing that. And so I think it's just being able to admit to yourself that maybe something is going on, because sometimes our egos get involved, because sometimes when you do that, you have to then admit to yourself that someone's up to something. And it's easier for our egos to admit that, that you're being, you are being crazy. This would never happen to me. So trusting yourself is just being honest with yourself about the possibilities, but like knowing that you have the ability to fight back and defend your convictions about qualities that you want in a partner.
Right.
Thank you so much for
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, thank you guys.
All right.
That helps a lot. So.
Well,
Screw that guy. He sucks.
Yeah. But you're going to be fine. Best of luck. And, keep talking about it. Like, it's okay to feel the way you do. Try not to beat yourself up, but like, talk to people. You're not alone. You're not crazy. You didn't do anything wrong. You just got to get better at, defending your choices.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thank you guys.
All right. Take
I
care.
noticed the 100. Is it your 100?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our 100th episode.
Yay!
Yay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys.
All right.
Thank you guys so much. It helps a lot.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Yep. You guys too. Bye.
Whew, I like this call only because there's so many of us, and guys are like that too. I mean, I've had guy friends be cheated on by girls, and they start hating women or not thinking and not trusting women, and it's tough. You see it probably more with I think men. I don't know. I wonder, have there been studies that do men or women cheat more?
I don't know.
I'd be curious.
Look it up.
That's probably pretty even, but
Yeah.
yeah, I know it's so nuanced. Trusting ourselves, and the comparison between like, finding ourselves with people who are cheaters or liars.
Yeah. And then turning someone else's bad actions against ourselves and start getting mad at yourself for that. It's so sad.
Well, I mean, my guess is the reason she is doing that, or we do that, is because, listen, it's not her fault what happened here.
Yeah.
But her inability.
Yeah.
I mean, she said she's been cheated on before. Like,
Yeah.
she is struggling with defending kind of her own convictions, and she's lacking the confidence in the things that she knows is right about the things that she wants.
Right.
And, it's like our last caller, like sometimes predators are good at seeking the type of prey. We've had this other various situations, like it's I don't know, biology, people, you prey on the weak, so to speak. And I'm not calling her weak, but like, if you know that you if someone senses you struggle with doing this, they'll take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And so we just have to get better at, again, sometimes it's fighting against our ego too.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in that situation, you just didn't want to admit to yourself this could happen.
Right.
So you kind of go along with it, and then it's a snowball effect. So it's just really it's always those very pivotal moments of like, we've all been there. We've all been in situations where this feels wrong. And I find myself letting this other person convince me, because if I'm right about this being wrong, that's that's creating, like, what does that mean, right? Because usually that means like, oh, they're cheating on me, or this is fucked
Everything's
up.
going to be blown up.
Everything's going to blow up. So we just let that other person convince us of something, and then it becomes this kind of fucked up situation. And that will, if we do that over and over, we will question our ability to trust ourselves.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's good. It's good.
What's your name?
Crystal.
Hi,
I'm
Crystal.
34.
34. How can we help?
So, I have been married for 7 years and with my husband for 10. And I have not had an orgasm in our entire marriage, but before we were married, I did.
Oh.
The last time I had one was on our honeymoon.
With him.
On your honeymoon.
Say again?
I was just repeating you.
She's
Oh,
she's projecting. So, all right, you had an orgasm on your honeymoon. So technically, you've had one orgasm.
okay. Technically, yes. But that was 7 years ago, Nick.
No, I get it. So obviously, this is troublesome for you.
Yeah.
How often are you having
Also,
sex?
Full disclosure. Sorry.
How often are you having sex?
How often? So we have 2 kids now. So at least twice. No. It's gotten less over time, which I think is probably normal. At this point, the last time we had sex was right before Christmas.
Okay.
Actually, we were back where we were for our honeymoon, believe it or not. No orgasm, though. But I'd say like 6 to 12 times a year.
Okay. I mean, at least, yeah, it's better than that one caller we had where she wasn't getting any sex. But
Oh, my God.
but
I have so much to say about that. Yeah. But, yeah, it is better than that.
well, let's focus on you right now.
Yeah.
So this is about you. So I mean, you said before we started talking, he knows that you're calling in. Minus that,
Yes.
have you had conversations with him over these years about this problem?
So many. So I was going to say, our relationship in terms of communication is like beyond. I mean,
Beyond good?
He
It's
said
good.
good. Yeah, it's
Good.
really good.
Okay.
So everything that I'm saying to you, we've talked about it before. We've been to multiple therapists. We've been to a sex therapist. We've gone to therapy on our own, marriage counseling, and it's just not
What do they say?
like, yeah, we're
She can't even
not
come on her
working.
own.
Oh, so
No, not even on my own.
this is. I mean,
And I obviously could before. And we've had a really, so communication, everything about our relationship has always been amazing. We've been able to communicate really well since day one. But this has been the sticking point, even before we were married. And I think I was young. I was 24 when we met. And I, I thought this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And this is, getting married and having kids and all this. And this was an issue, like even 4 months into our relationship, but we just kind of, everything else has always been so great. We just kind of pushed this very important issue to the back burner. And at this point, I'm like going out of my mind. I've not thought about it for a long time, but our youngest is a year and a half now. And I'm just like, I can't ignore this anymore.
And you wrote in your email that you're thinking about like other people, like the thought of other people excites you.
that was my next question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It does. And I even my husband even knows that. Like cheating is a total fantasy for me. I have not, and I don't think I would.
So-
but it's
So you
like
say
getting
you
to a
haven't,
point-
you can't come on your own. Like, so do you masturbate and you don't climax?
Yeah. So for a long time, I didn't even, just because it was like, why bother? Also like having little kids and all that. But lately I have. So lately, I have suddenly had a libido again, which was kind of like through all the years and all the like sort of drama between my husband and I with this, we just kind of like just getting through everything. But lately my libido has come back, I'd say in the last month and a half. So I have been a ton actually, but still nothing. And you can imagine how discouraging that is. Like, and I will say, like, this has been going on for a long time, but I did start an antidepressant that is known to cause anorgasmia. But
Okay.
they were like, well, since you already have that, like, who cares? And now I'm on another one that's counteracting that. So that's, I think, why I have a libido again.
Oh.
But but see, the thing is, like,
How
whenever I
long
tell
you've been on
people
this
that,
medication that one of the side effects is not having an orgasm?
like, 4 years.
Okay.
So when I tell people that, though, they always hone in on that, like, oh, that must be why. But it's been 7 years. It was before that, you know.
Okay, sure.
So it's just really discouraging.
Yeah, I mean,
frankly.
I'm sorry. I don't want to, you know, I mean, you've talked to sex therapists, you've talked to therapists. I mean, I could just make a bunch of guesses. I'm obviously not a sex therapist or a therapist
Yeah.
or a sex expert. I mean, like there's a lot of scenarios, but like you said, you've kind of covered your bases.
Bases.
Of all the questions I would ask about, you know, listen, maybe you're just like you're fantasizing, you're in your head about these other guys, but the fact that you can't seem to even, if you were to say watch porn or porn that you're attracted to, or fantasize about a guy that you find sexy, and you kind of get the best sex toy on the market, and it's still nothing, then I don't know.
Do you have a good sex toy?
Yeah. Do you have a good sex toy?
Yeah, so I did just get a new one that's very promising. So
I've heard-
technology is
I've
fabulous.
heard there's some. We can get some recommendations. Maybe Rochelle already has one, but I've heard there's some ones out there
I
where
would
it's
love some I would love.
yeah.
At this point, I wonder if I'm just so in my head that
Let me see
I
if I can
can't,
find
like. There's so much to it. Yeah.
it.
No.
Who was it that was showing us
Frustrated.
that? Oh, the Lady Gang.
The Lady Gang, but no, there was. I can't find it right now. But yes. So wait, have you used other sex toys, or you just got one?
I just got one. I mean, I wasn't
For the first time?
interested until recently. that
Okay,
again?
well, try that. Ask some of your other female friends, your girlfriends. Sex with Emily, she was on our podcast. She's big into sex toys. She probably has some nice recommendations for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I would try all these other things. I mean, because there's a couple like scenarios here. One, we just need to get you to orgasm, right? That's step one. Because regardless of, you know, your husband or in your head or something, that's the first thing. Because it, you know, after that, who knows, right? Because the fact that you are thinking about other guys and having fantasies, I mean, whatever. I mean, it's not fun to hear if he's your husband. You seem like you're a very upfront and honest person. You guys communicate. Like, we all get things in our head and we all fantasize. It's why it's called a fantasy.
Right.
But that's not even doing the trick at this point. So I'm just curious about, you know, and who knows? Maybe it's just a combination of all these things: stress, a fantasy about other guys. Now with the medication, maybe that's not the culprit, but it's probably not helping. Right?
Yeah, sure, you're right.
I don't know. I don't know what your doctors are saying or why you're on this medication. I'm not here to tell you whether you should or shouldn't be taking something you might need. But those are all scenarios. And as far as your husband goes, I mean, it sounds like you're lucky to have a pretty understanding husband who is it sounds, the way you're describing it, a lot of guys could handle this much worse. Not that it would make it okay, but he seems to I mean, does he get defensive? I mean, I mean, I'm curious, how much does he care? You know?
Well, that's another thing. Like recently when my libido has come back, I want to say it was probably a month ago, I told him, like, hey, you know, I'm super horny, which has not been a sentence I have said or even felt in a long time. And he, like, couldn't have given two shits, it seemed like. And he's been even more distant since then. And it's like, we can talk about it, like we're talking about it now, but then,
there's a
like,
difference.
there's no follow through. And then I feel there have been multiple scenarios throughout our relationship where I've been super vulnerable about sex. And I think I'm more adventurous sexually than he is, and it makes him nervous, and he kind of doesn't respond well to something that I really enjoyed. So I just feel like, okay,
Like
so
what?
like the secondary issue is like, are we just sexually not compatible despite everything else being so great? Like, is this not going to work out because of that?
When you say you're into something
and
that he doesn't enjoy, what do you, can you give us detail?
So, like, we did role playing. Gosh, this is probably 6 years ago now that we did this, and I loved it. And he was super uncomfortable because he was like, it was like you were having sex with somebody else, and I was like, but I wasn't. I was having sex with you. It was just a fantasy, but like you couldn't get beyond it. And we actually talked about this recently, and he said, well, now I'm in a different place. But for me, it's like I don't feel safe I can imagine myself doing the things I fantasize about with other people, but as soon as I imagine the actual person in front of me, I shut down because I don't feel safe going there with him. You know,
Sure.
We can talk about it all day long, but I don't feel like I feel the same sexually toward him, this frustration that I felt early on, and now it's been 10 years, and everything else is great. Except this, but this is a really big thing.
Yeah,
and I even said to him, like, this could make our relationship implode. And he was like, yeah, it could.
Well, you know, all right. I mean,
So,
with having limited information and not being expert, like I said, I think, you know, get the sex toys, keep talking to professionals, try to look into your ability to orgasm. Like I really have no expertise in that other than saying, get some sex toys and talk to therapists. And as far as your relationship goes, I mean, I'm getting the sense that from a big picture standpoint, your sexual prowess is a little bit more experimental than his. And he, you know, no one's right or no one's wrong in this situation as far as you and your husband goes. He's a little bit more conservative and you're not. I appreciate from your husband's standpoint, knowing that you're struggling here, you're having these fantasies, and his reluctance to role play because he's almost like he knows almost too much. So he probably sees you go at a different place and he probably feels like, well, man, at this point you might as well just fuck another guy because I don't even feel like I'm here. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate what that might feel like in the moment, especially if he's not into it. At the same time, you know, I understand that you like things can get ordinary and repetitive and redundant, and you like to you know, explore different things, and you like to be adventurous, and you want to have a partner who's willing to be adventurous with you, and instead of making you feel judged for wanting to be adventurous, he's helping you, and you guys are doing it together, and you're sharing this kind of adventurous sexual relationship. And that's the thing, you guys it might just be a compatibility issue when it comes to that. And the reality is you just guys have some tough choices to make. Is he willing to go there? Are you willing not to? You know, sometimes, you know, couples are faced with these tough choices. There's no right answer here. I mean, I can't tell you what to do.
I know.
Other than like, I think you're not wrong to consider the fact that you might not be sexually compatible. You guys are still both pretty young. If he's not willing to do that, that's what you need, then I don't know. It's going to be tough. At the same time, at the same time, it sounds like he's everything else. Hard to find people who are so communicative as you say he's open to being. You are in a marriage. He's the father of your kids, and it's a tough position to be in. But before you jump into those things, I would try to address the more physical aspect of your struggles. You know, from a biological standpoint, and try to resolve that first, because you never know. Because it's safe to say that right now you're very much in your head about all this, and it's just a lot going on, and you're overly stressed out, and it's kind of been the snowball effect, and maybe you've communicated too much with him in a sense, you know?
Oh man, I never thought about it that way. Yeah. That's always been such a thing. Communication, it's so important. But maybe it's like
it is. But when you start telling him you can't make me come, and I'm thinking about other guys, and then you're like, can we role play? You know, like then he's gonna struggle a little bit there. He's gonna be like, I mean, like, I don't know. You just want to go fuck another dude and save me the time. You know, I mean, it's, you know, we've been there. Like we've all been hooking up with someone where you're like, are you even in this room? You know, and what are you thinking about?
Yeah.
And that's another great feeling for anyone to feel, guy or girl. So I appreciate where he's coming from, and it's just a tough situation, but try to have an orgasm first, and then maybe you'll feel a little bit less stressed and go there. But it's a tough situation. I wish I had a better answer for you.
Yeah, honestly, there were a few things that you said that I hadn't really thought about, like the maybe over communication. That's never what you hear, right, in relationship advice.
Usually not, but sometimes people can over communicate. Sometimes you don't need to hear everything.
Yeah.
So you said he found out you wrote us the email, and then how did he respond when he found out?
He was like, yeah, I saw you got an email. I didn't read it out of your respect for your privacy, but I saw the subject line, which said, haven't had an orgasm in my entire marriage.
Oh, no.
And then he saw your response, and he was like, I don't think your face should be on YouTube, but I'll leave that up to you.
Oh.
Well,
so
it's not going to be.
I still was like, oh my God, I can't believe that he saw it.
No.
He has my email on his phone, which I totally forgot. And it's been like, I just like, what do I have to hide? Nothing. But then this time I was like, oh man, I should have. Anyway.
Was his feelings hurt or?
He's cool about it.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Well, he's cool about it, but his feelings are also hurt. I mean, yeah, listen, I mean, I can only imagine what he's processing.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when we feel like we're in we're stuck in a problem that we have no control or ability to solve, we kind of give up. You know, I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, when you said your libido's back and he didn't respond the way you hoped he did, that's not ideal. But who knows about, like, after so long, maybe he's just frustrated. I don't know. I mean, it's a tough situation that you're both in, and I feel for both of you. But yeah, I mean, there seem to be a lot of great sex toys out there for women that I hear my friends really, really go nuts about. So try that.
Yeah.
Maybe if that works, and invite that friend into the bedroom. And, you know, he does need to try to work with you here. Like, I mean, if he wants to stay married to you, you know, he's got to fight too, you know, the whole, like, you get married, you make a commitment. Some people get divorced, but, like, regardless, every marriage has its major challenges and major down, you know, months and years. So he is still, despite maybe feeling a certain way about this, he's going to have to step up too. You're going to have to step up. You're both going to have to fight through this if you want to stay married. I mean, you're going to have to, you know, get through these hard times. So he's going to have to, you know, when you give up or he gives up or one of you gives up, it's kind of over. And you're going through the motions.
I don't think we're there yet. We're not there yet, but
good.
Yeah, I definitely think an orgasm that probably would help so much.
First order of business.
Yeah, I get that sex toy. Hope it works. And say, hey, listen, I don't want to bring another guy into the relationship, but I do want to bring this little friend and have some fun with it. He needs to try to have some fun. With that. He needs to have some fun. I mean, you guys do, like, he needs to try to not, like, to incorporate some creativeness. I mean, I don't know, like, I'm not every guy, but I would think that he would want to have some variety and excitement in his sex life too, but who knows? I guess I can't speak for all guys, but I'd want to mix it up. But hey, that's just me.
I think he must, but we just haven't had the healthiest sex life in this respect. So, you know, it's like the one area that's a little bit of a question mark for me about my husband.
Yeah.
You know, so okay, so orgasm, don't communicate too much.
I invite all our listeners, for our women listeners out there, send in your best sex toys.
Please.
And we will crowdsource for you. I'm sure we'll get a lot of feedback.
Sure.
But in our Lady Gang episode on Wednesday, they give their advice.
They have a sex toy recommendation.
Yes.
Which they stand by.
Yeah. It has some kind of suction thing on the end.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Has he tried to perform oral sex on you?
Say that again?
Has he attempted to perform oral sex on you?
Oh, well, yeah. I think, yeah. So the last time we had sex, I did. It doesn't happen as often as it used to. I think
he's more or less given up.
often. Say again?
He's more or less given up. I mean,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. And that mixed with having 2 kids and everything has to be a quickie anyway. And yeah. And often when we have opportunities, we kind of are just like, oh, well, we need to work on the yard or work on the house or whatever, you know.
There's another yard that needs some work.
yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
All right. Well, on that note, thanks for calling. I wish we had more clarity, but sometimes we don't have answers for everything. But it's a tough situation, and
Yeah.
you guys just have to. At the end of the day, you have to figure out whether you're both willing to work on this or not.
Yeah. I think it was more helpful than you're giving yourself credit for. I appreciate it a lot.
Aw.
So.
All right. Well, thanks. Have a great day.
You're welcome.
All right. Take care.
You too. Take care, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. I don't know. Sucks.
The female orgasm is a mystery.
It is much more simpler for the men out there.
Yeah.
Not that they don't have their struggles
Oh, yeah.
sometimes, but it's a lot far less nuanced. It seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. All right. How's it going?
Going good. How about you?
Good. What's your name?
Yeah, so I'm Megan.
How old are you, Megan?
I'm 28 years old.
How can we help you, Megan? 28.
Yeah, so I guess I'll kind of start by giving a little bit of background. So I've recently been divorced after I was married for 3 years with this person for 6 years, and recently divorced last year around September. So since then, I have been dating one guy in particular who is a good bit older than me. I've never dated anyone this much older than me. He's 39, so 11 years older.
Okay.
And there's just been a lot of differences in the relationship, anything ranging from just differences in, the sex life is different. Things just seem to be different. And I don't know if it is within the relationship, if it has something to do with the age.
Is he the first guy you've dated since your divorce?
It is,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So he's the first person you've been dating since your divorce.
That's correct.
Is he the first person you've dated in 6 years other than your ex-husband?
It is,
Okay.
yes.
What's different about the sex?
It doesn't seem that he has, I guess you could say, as much of a draw.
Okay.
It doesn't seem, I guess, as interested in it as anyone else I've ever dated around my age or close to my age. So I guess you could say the drive's not really there.
What else? What else about
the physical ability, I would say, is not really there for him. It's the best way to describe it.
Can't get it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess, I guess that would be the best way to describe it. It just kind of feels like the drive's not there, and when it is there, it's not as. I guess the best way to put it is he can't really keep it up.
And what else? You said sex is one part, but what else is different?
Yeah, and then another thing in the relationship that I've questioned, and this is kind of outside, I don't think has anything to do with his age or anything like that, has been he has a lot of female friendships, and by female, very close female friendships. These are women that he talks to on a daily basis, women he, spends time with their children. He does weekend trips with them. So very close female friendships. And I guess my question is, or what I'm struggling with is, where is the boundaries with female friendships? What is okay and what's not when it comes to female friendships? Because that's not something I dealt with in my previous relationship.
Sure.
So I don't really know if I'm just being, I guess, jealous or if there should be boundaries set within the relationship.
How long has he been single?
He has actually been single for quite some time. I want to say his last relationship was maybe 2 to 3 years ago. And he's only had maybe 1 to 2 serious relationships. And like I said, he is 39.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been my guess. What else? Anything else?
No, that's really the only concerns are those 2 things.
Well, listen, I mean, the fact that like as guys get older, it's different for every guy, but some guys, their testosterone levels drop, and as a result, their sex drive can drop, and their ability to be aroused can diminish. Every guy's different. I don't know if that's the case with him. I mean, you haven't known him earlier. He could have been this way when he was younger. It just doesn't mean that all of a sudden he's this certain way. He could have been this way when he was 29, right?
Right.
There's a lot of guys who are that age who have no problem. I mean, listen, as you get older, like you're not 22 anymore, and you're not like trying to like have sex all night long. It's not like you're 4 times in a windmill. It's like 2's good. It's fine. So I don't have a clear answer for you. That's the point is, this is who he is in terms of his sex drive. And if it's an issue for you, it's fair for you to try to maybe ask some questions. I mean, it's going to be sensitive, right? You haven't been dating that long.
Right.
So like, maybe now is not the time to dive into that, but it's very nuanced, because if he's not bothered by it, because like some guys will on their own realize that, man, I'm having a hard time here. I'm just not as into it, and they go to the doctors, and there's things that you can try to do to improve it. Has he expressed a concern on his end that? Does he get defensive? Does it come up? Or does he act as if this is business as usual?
Yeah, so I guess that's also a little bit of my question, is kind of how to approach that topic with guys without it sounding, without offending him, or without sounding, just basically how to really approach it without offending him.
How long you been dating for?
We've been talking for at this point, about 4 months.
Okay. It's pretty early. Honestly, are you guys, did you define the relationship? Is he your boyfriend? Are you in a monogamous relationship with him? You are. Okay. Well,
yes.
The fact that you're in a monogamous relationship, I think at that point you can start asking, questions. If you guys are going to commit to each other, you're going to define the relationship, you're going to, like I'm assuming your point of being in a monogamous relationship with them is the hope that maybe this can turn into something forever, right? I mean, do you guys talk about that? Do you still want to get married?
Yes, eventually. Not right now.
No, but just in general, like, you still hope to meet someone. And does he agree with, does he share that interest? Okay. So the only reason you guys are in this monogamous relationship is to see if it can continue to go somewhere. You must see potential and want to go somewhere. So if you guys are going to define the relationship, then that's the point where it's fair to start asking questions about whether this is in fact what you think it might be. And that is a forever relationship, I mean, unless you're just kind of in a monogamous relationship with him because you like him enough to have sex with him, and you don't want to feel like you don't want to have like a higher risk sex with other people. But other than that, I'm assuming that's, so I guess to start, how you ask it. I mean, I think don't make it about his age, right? Just ask him, like, have you, I'm used to like having more sex, and ask him about like, is this normal for you? And try to just not make it feel, maybe that's not even a great way to ask it, but try not to put him on the spot. Just ask him like how often he likes having sex. Would you like, is it me or not me? Is it me like not having sex, but have you said to him, does he even know that you want to have more sex? I guess is my question.
No, I really hadn't brought it up to him yet.
So start there, make it seem like,
but
maybe just kind of like, hey, I want to have more sex. Make him like say to you why he might not want to, right? Because trying to avoid conflict. Like maybe he might respond in a way that would surprise you when you mention that you want to have more sex, right? If he responds in a way that suggests like, I don't really want to, then the next question would be something along the lines of, is this kind of how you are now? Have you always been this way? You know? And like, are you just not like, have you ever had more sex in your life? Like, have you ever been in a relationship where sex was happening more frequently? See what he says there, right?
Right.
And then eventually you're going to maybe have to have a tougher conversation of, well, I kind of want to have more. And then maybe the age thing comes up, you know, but try to find out, try to get to know him a little bit better, because you don't have the answer to some of these questions. You don't know how he was when he was in his 20s. You don't know if his sex drive has diminished, or, you know, if this has always been, so you don't know. So you gotta find those things out first. Cause they could be any answer. As far as the, girlfriends, it's not surprising to me that he has these relationships. He's been single for, most of his life. He's had a relationship a few years ago, but you know, I'm as a single person, you develop different types of relationships and companionship in different ways. And so he has these women in his life that, listen, if he wanted to have sex with them and he wanted to be in romantic relationships, he probably would be, unless you're finding out that like he's tried and they like said no and he's decided to be their friendship. But I'm guessing that's not the case. I feel like more people when they're younger do that, but I feel like most 30 people in their 30s like just don't have the time to do that. My guess is he probably is just friends with these women. And he's developed these relationships as you know, to have those types of connections. He hasn't gotten in a romantic relationship.
If he wanted to date him, he could have.
Yeah, it's nuanced there. Yeah. So like, you know, I'm always a big believer when you have friends of the opposite sex. I can't talk right now. You need to become friends with them. So a big red flag would be you try to become friends with these women. They're not receptive to being friends with you. That would be a red flag. If they are truly his friends, they should be just as friendly to you as his guy friends might be. Listen, they might think you're a bad girlfriend and they might not like you, and that's why they are mean to you. But like, that's kind of a weird response. So they should try to do that. And then, yeah, you have every right, if certain things are bothering you, to at least talk to him about it. Ask him, I'm not used to this. You know, I want to understand. I'm prone to be insecure about this, but I don't want to jump to conclusions. Help me understand. She's just your friend. Great. I want to be friends with your friends, just like if it were a guy, and he should want to, like, it's on him to make this, to bring these people together. He's the middleman here. So like, yeah, certainly it's on his friends to be welcoming, but he needs to let, if it were me, right. And if I met a girl and I wanted her to be my girlfriend, and I saw potential with her. In the meantime, I had all these other female friends that I was hanging out with and maybe even going on trips. I would go to them and say, I really like this person. I think she has a lot of potential. I want you to make her feel like a part of this group. She matters to me. And that's on him to do that. It's his responsibility. And so that would be a sign for you to see like how serious he is about this relationship, And so does that make sense? So it's kind of more about his actions and how he treats it. You have a right to feel a little uncomfortable with it, but you just have to communicate and figure out what his point of view is. It's just different. And I don't think his age has that much to do with it. Yeah. Because this could be, this happens with people in their late 20s and early 30s and as well.
Yeah, and I think what I have been uncomfortable with is it's not so much the female friendships, but more so just kind of how he acts in those friendships, like the overnight trips where they would stay in hotels together and things like that.
That's a little weird.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say you're not okay with that.
Yeah, you have a right. And that's the thing. It's not necessarily that he was doing anything wrong as a single guy, but when you're single, you have more freedom than you do in a committed relationship.
Yeah.
like relationships include sacrifice. Like you have to sometimes be willing to give up and do things you don't want to do. And you have the right to say that bothers me. And he has the right to try to explain it and maybe say, hey, and try to convince you it's okay. But as we've talked about with some of our other callers, like you need to be able to stand your ground of what you're okay with and what you're not, and not be made to feel guilty about thinking something is not something is okay that you're not comfortable with. You do have to set some boundaries. But more importantly, how he needs to bring you into this friendship. If it's truly a friendship, he should have no problem bringing you into this friend group in this dynamic. As soon as he starts having separation and keeping you, if you feel like he's keeping you outside of that circle, that's a huge red flag.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, that's, I think, the bigger thing. The sex stuff, I mean, find out the friend stuff first, and the sex stuff, I think that'll work itself out.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you, Nick.
All right. My pleasure. Well, thanks for calling.
Thank you for calling.
Best of luck.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Well, another great episode.
Yeah.
For number 100.
100.
Big takeaway here, I think, a little bit for all our callers is there's just such a big difference between, being the understanding partner.
Yeah.
Questioning, like, when we date and we're going to meet different people, especially if we have been in a relationship for a long time, when we start dating again or dating other people, we're going to introduce ourselves to different ways of doing it.
Yeah.
And that's great that we are open-minded to learning about different ways, because how you've done it before isn't necessarily how you're going to want to do in the future or the right way. At the same time, there is a difference between being open-minded and going against your kind of convictions
Yes.
and what you think is okay for you and what is healthy, and not being convinced that you're doing something wrong when you're not.
Right.
And knowing the difference.
Right.
And I think that's something we all struggle with, and that we heard with a lot of our callers struggle with. And so that's really important to know the difference and pay attention to those kind of signals and our partner's actions. And not be made to feel guilty about things that we aren't guilty. And listen, like, we talked like Maddie and on Peter's season, like there's always this big debate.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with Madison having the beliefs that she has. And
Even though the show saying it's okay, all the other seasons before say it's okay, she was like, it's not okay for me.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
And I don't like the whole like the way that people are saying, well, it's not okay that she gave him an ultimatum. It's just, no, those are her beliefs, and she, whether you agree with them or not, she did it in an eloquent way that wasn't judging Peter or anything like that. She has the right to believe how she feels.
Yeah.
And then she can decide whether she wants to remove herself or not, or go.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And that's what we all need to do. And sometimes we just have to stand up for what we believe in and be open to learning new ways of thinking.
And then get out
And
when
then,
it's not good.
And knowing the difference. But it's easier said than done. But I think that's a big takeaway for today.
Congratulations, Nick.
Congratulations is to you as well. Thanks for listening, and congratulations to you, the listeners, for putting up with me. But as we said on the top of the show, we really appreciate you guys listening. It means a lot. We couldn't do this without you. We are hoping for bigger and better things for the show as we continue to grow, and some more fun and exciting guests. Tune in tomorrow for the Lady Gang. What a fun group of ladies they are.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Tune in
You're right.
Wednesday, yeah.
That's right. We got a Bachelor recap tomorrow. I can't keep up. It's fine. Other than that, anything else?
No.
All right. Well, see you tomorrow.